What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another installment of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Rubbin' is racing, grubbin' is tasting. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in tonight, man. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about this week, obviously, after that cutoff race there at Bristol. A little bit of drama for your mama with my main guy, Chase Elliott, man. We're going to get to all the goods here coming up. But first time tuning in, or if you watch every week, you know how we started out. Word of the day. Basically, I'm going to say a word every time I drop it during today's show, or if you watch afterwards, the after produce that Lawrence puts up there on YouTube. If you're playing along this weekend, every time I say it, going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage, man. I always say it's age appropriate or age friendly. Anybody can play. Kids, go ahead, get some Kool-Aid, sweet tea, energy drink, man. Get jacked up, do your thing, man. So last week's word of the day was playoff. So I know I probably said that a lot. No guarantee how many times, but I'm sure if you played along, you got pretty hammered. So here we go this week. The word of the day, this show is going to be, have no idea what it's going to be. We'll see what Lawrence decides to come up with and go from there. But moving right into it, man, got the NASCAR news. Hey, Bristol doesn't disappoint, man. Probably one of the best races of the year right there. So much excitement from green to checker and everything in between. We're going to get a little bit more into details, man, but definitely got to keep it right there as the cutoff race. Never disappoints there Saturday night at Bristol, man. Rodney Childers there for the 4-car at SHR. Gonna stay around for a little while. If you guys watch the show, you know I've talked about it a little bit. Didn't know quite if that relationship between Harvick and him was growing a little stale, as we kind of saw in the Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson type deal. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be there. If he stays with the 4 and Harvick, we'll have to wait and see. We know these guys can get it done, win championships, win a lot of races. So at the end of the day, we'll see maybe if Stewart decides to pair new crew chief with old driver and older crew chief with new driver. We'll just see what he decides to do over there at SHR, man. But there it is. As we all know, Kyle Larson slays the beast there known as Bristol, man. Comes home with that win on that cutoff race. I tell you what, we're going to get into some more details about that getting further into the show, because I got a lot to talk about on that, man. A lot to say. So as we know, the Busch Clash set there at the LA Coliseum here coming up next year, a week before the Super Bowl. Going to be some great media coverage, I think, for the sport and NASCAR in general as a brand. Don't know if you guys have seen it, but Alvin Kamara is out there, big part fan of NASCAR and part in it. So rocking out with the NASCAR symbol in his visor there for the New Orleans Saints, man. I think that's badass. So definitely make sure you check that out if you hadn't seen it. But there again, it turns into an invitational, man. So in years past, you've had to be kind of invited in a way. You had to be a past winner of the Clash. You had to have won a race a year before. Different numerous things you had to do to qualify to be invited to that race. Now it's kind of open invitational. They're going to allow more cars and more teams to kind of get involved in that, which I think is definitely good for the sport. Definitely on this platform, not only are you in LA the week before the Super Bowl and all that media, but you're also giving these teams time to go out and test and do what they do there with that next generation car that's coming out. So this is all very important, and I think it's great. Some of these smaller teams with some smaller sponsors, or maybe only having a sponsor for 3 or 4 races, getting to go out there and get exposure on such a big stage. So obviously that's going to be amazing. You're going to have to wait and see how it plays out at the Coliseum on a quarter mile, but as far as the alignment goes, I think it's going to be crazy, man. So as we all know, we just went from 16 drivers in the playoffs down to 12, man. I tell you, it was a hard-fought battle there towards the end there at Bristol. A lot of guys, man, gave it their all. A lot of guys bounced back from adversity and all kinds of trials through the race. Some came up just a little bit short. Some actually prevailed, made it on to the next round. So, like I said, we'll get a little bit into that in the, who's in and who's out type thing, man. So, hey, like I say, big thanks to you guys for tuning in here to Rubbin' and Grubbin', man. Go out, like, share, follow all our social media. We're out there on the gram, man. Check us out on YouTube. Definitely subscribe to that. I mean, hell, man, like I said, you can even check us out on Facebook. Catch us live right here at Coach's Corner, either in person or on the Facebook page. It is a blast, man. Got to come out and check it out. In the swear bucket. I got a lot more coming tonight again, probably similar to last week. So, But hey, moving right along, man, we're getting into those point standings. Like I said, we just went down from 16 to 12. That's all we need to really worry about at this point. Maybe at the championship we'll break down those full points on the episode after. But right now we're only worried about the 12, man. So like I said, first round come and gone, man. Set to 12. You got 3 races right here to carry yourself into that 8. And I tell you, the competition only gets better as we go on. It only gets harder, man. So we got three totally different racetracks this round. Instead of running a Sunday night race there, or evening race there at Darlington, and 2 Saturday night races, you turn right around, man. You got a 1.5 miles, a super speedway, and a Roval, all right there, back to back to back. Different weeks, different racetracks. I mean, different scenarios for guys. So gonna have to keep up. Got to play. We got to see how this one here coming up at Vegas goes. See who kind of, 1, projects himself into the round of 8, and 2, where these points shake out, stage wins, et cetera, finishes. But I tell you what, man, one bad slip up with the competition that's in this 12, and it's going to be really hard to come back at these style racetracks. We all know Talladega is absolutely insane. Anybody can win it. Anything can happen. So I would say a lot of guys want to have a very consistent run, very good run right here at Vegas to kind of set themselves up just in case some mayhem does happen at Dega. So something to keep an eye on. But hey, like I say, we're going to have to see how it goes down and what's up. But my prediction right here for the round, the 4 that are going to be out right here in the round of 12, 4 guys not going to make it into the round of 8. I got to go with Christopher Bell. Unfortunately, man, he's young. This is kind of a new style thing that he's getting used to. First time I think that he's kind of in this situation. Got the pressure on him. Not that he's not a good race car driver. Not that he doesn't have good equipment. I just think when you level this field out in the places that we're going, it's going to be difficult. He got the win there at the Daytona Road Course. Charlotte's a little bit of a different beast. We'll have to see if he can kind of carry that momentum that he's had on some road courses this year over with him. But I tell you what, for me, like I said, got to be one of the first ones out on the list. The 2 for me going out, one of the 4. Like I said, it's going to be a surprise to some folks, but I think it's the 2 of Brad Keselowski. And that's being said with even possibly one of his best racetracks at Talladega coming up. I just, there again, feel like I haven't seen the consistency all season long. Playoffs have been running somewhat decent, but you still don't have that upfront speed that eventually it's going to take to project yourself into that. So I think he has a slip up either this week at Vegas, or he has a slip up there at Talladega, maybe gets caught up in something behind the 8 ball going into the road course race. Maybe a must win, but we'll see how it plays out for the 2 of Brad Keselowski. 3 for me, another one, man, going to catch some folks off guard, really big time probably right here, man. These are some big guys we're knocking out kind of early and putting some young guys in front of them. And I think that's going to be the 18 of Kyle Busch. And it's nothing personal against him. We've been going back and forth a little bit. I'm just saying my 4, I think, that are going out. I think there again, if you go back and look over the last 4 or 5 races, he's had all kinds of issues, whether it be pit road, whether it be on track, whether it be flat tires, whether it be whatever. He has had all kinds of issues. And it's become consistent to where they're not able to clean it up. Now, he's able to go out and get good finishes somewhat. Darlington wasn't very good. Bristol wasn't very good. So had he not had the wins and had the stage wins and the points that maybe he had this season, we'd be talking about a different ballgame for Kyle Busch. So right here, moving into this round, I think there again, Talladega is going to be one of his downfalls. Restrictor plate racing to me has never been his big upscale, his big winning tracks. So to me, looks like he'll have trouble there. The Roval hasn't been very friendly to him as well. So there again, 2 racetracks right there. I think that he could possibly, have bad runs at and find himself behind that cut line. Last but not least, and this is a guy that there again had a really good run, competed for the win this past week, and that's the 4 of Kevin Harvick, man. So you heard it right, 3 really big names. Guys like Byron and Bowman, to me, I think they're going to kind of slide their way into these playoff, into the round of 8 right here. We'll see what we can project. We'll see what happens. But as of everything that I have to say, like I said, man, those are going to be my 4 out right there first. So looking at it right now, standings playoff-wise, as if it's any surprise, you got Kyle Larson sitting up top. 2 is going to be the 19 of Martin Truex. 3, Denny Hamlin. 4 is going to be Ryan Blaney. 5 right now is Kyle Busch. 6 is going to be my man Chase Elliott. 7, Bowman. 8th is Byron, so 3 Hendrick cars sitting right there together down towards the end of that 12. Really need a strong run at Vegas, as you can see. We got the 22 of Joey Logano in 9th, Brad Keselowski 10th, Christopher Bell 11th, and Kevin Harvick 12th. So 3 of those guys I had on the list starting right there in the last 3 spots. there again, I think, one, you're starting on the bottom of the list. You've got to have a good run this week. If you fail to do that, and guys, it's going to get tough. Finishing inside the top 10 is not going to be good enough. You're going to have to go out and, one, figure out how to get stage wins, but maintain your track position, and at the same time be able to compete at the end of the race for the win, which is very difficult to do when you have this much talent racing for a championship. So we'll just have to see how it plays out, man. But like I said, with Talladega in this round, good finishes are key. You got to get a good run right here at Vegas. You end up at Dega behind the 8-ball from Vegas and get caught up in something either you're doing or somebody else is doing, you're pretty much finding yourself in a must-win there at the Roval, and that's pretty, tall hill to climb, if you would, man. That's a tough race to go out and get a win at. So there again, just going to have to get it figured out and see what happens, man. But moving right along into my favorite part of the show, as you guys always know, checkered flag for charity. Good old swear bucket, man. What we do basically every week, whatever car number wins that race, we take some money, we throw it in. We all know the 5 car Kyle Larson won last week. 5 is never enough, as I always say. If it's under the car number 20, a 20 goes in. Boom. So there we go. That's going to bring that grand total to $3,556 right there raised. As I say all the time, not only do we help, you guys out there help. None of this is possible without the patrons and the love and support of the community out there. I tell you guys all the time, if you come up here to Coach's, man, having drinks with your buds, getting some food with the family, either way, tell your waitress, waiter, you want to round that up to the nearest dollar. Donate it to Checkered Flag for charity. Go ahead and take it, man. If you see John and Adele walking around, tell me you want to make a donation. $5, $1, $10, whatever, man. As I say all the time, nickels, pennies, dimes, 10, 20s, 150s, doesn't matter, man. Whatever you got, one, you get a feel good. Two, it all stays right here in the community with Help Save One of our own local charity. They do all kinds of amazing work for all kinds of people, and it all stays right here local, man. So like I say all the time, make sure next time you're in Coach's Corner, make a donation to help save one of our own, man. That's what we're all about. So moving right along in the who's hot and who's not, second part of the thing, man. I tell you what, didn't take Kyle Larson to start back out on that who's hot list. The man has absolutely shown you right here, don't ever count him out. He's absolutely on fire. Had a little bit of help, support there from a teammate to kind of get up there to get this win. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The man is absolutely on fire, doing what he needs to do, leading the playoffs, won the regular series championship. I mean, somebody's going to have to come with some stuff here at Phoenix. He's going to have trouble, I feel like, if he makes this 4. If you catch him in Phoenix, he's going to have trouble to beat him, I feel like. So just got to stay tuned, see what he can do, man. Hey, who else is hot, man? Playoff drivers. Started off shaky there at Darlington. I think we only had, a few of them finish inside the top 10. We turned right around there at Richmond. 9 out of the top 10 were playoff drivers. There again at Bristol, Eric Jones came home 8th, man. But at the end of the day, a lot of playoff drivers in there again. So, as I say, man, very important for those guys to stay inside that top 10, racing each other, because there's only 12 guys. So, you got to be in there racing each other for the stage wins, racing each other for the win, just figuring out strategy, how to get it done, man. So, that's why the playoffs in NASCAR are absolutely unlike anything else. Runs, eliminates, all the way down to the finish. One race for the trophy. I love it. All the drama leading up is the best part, man. So I tell you what, man. Here we go again on the who's not. Kyle Busch. Enough said, man. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I got some blame to mess with him, man. Kevin Harvick. Come on, man. I'm going to tell you right now, man. Who gets out of the car with the helmet on and then whenever it's all said and done wants to say, oh, I'm ready to rip somebody's head off and slam the helmet into the car? Like, you might be smart for wearing the helmet, but come on, man. What kind of dude are you wearing the helmet? Come on, man. Get out of here, man. He didn't want none, man. He already knew that bulldog was about to tear him up, man. He didn't want none of that. He already knew. He already knew, man. Anyway, we're going to talk about a little bit more of that later on, too. But that wraps it up for the who's hot and who's not, man. Right now, since we're doing things, got to give a big shout out to my buddy Parker Eccles over there, Arbor Man Tree Service. As I tell you all the time, man, locally owned, locally operated, one of the best dudes ever. like I say, man, if you're unsure, you need an estimate, give him a call. He's more than happy to come out, take a look at it for you, give you a price, man. Doesn't matter what it is, cutting back some limbs, man, removing trees, stump grinding, whatever it may be, man. As I always say, no job too big, too small. Make sure you give Parker a call. Hey, man, love you, brother. Can't wait till this Atlanta race. And I'm going to give you a call here later on, probably next week sometime. I got to talk to you about some stuff. But anyways, moving right into that Bristol recap. What a recap and what a race it was, man. I'm telling you right now, from start to finish, that was probably one of the best races I have seen in years. Those guys went out, they got after it, man. You know, so many different battles for the lead, so many guys up there, the way lap traffic was handled, the racing that the racetrack allowed. I tell you what, man, the sticky stuff worked out great there at Bristol for them, man. It allowed those 2 lanes. As we all know, old school way around was that bottom. Whenever they did what they did to Bristol, and there again, just the evolution of NASCAR, man. That high line's where it's at. So without that stuff down there, probably would have been a one groove race the whole time up top and very hard to pass on the inside. So NASCAR kind of hit the nail on the head right there, did something great, worked out great. I like it, didn't disappoint, man. So many highlights, so many letdowns, so much drama. We got a lot to get into right here, man. So just going to start out there again with those playoff drivers. Like I said, man, race for the 12, man. It came down to the last lap for a lot of these guys, finishing within 2 to 3 to 4 points of each other. I mean, you had, you know, Tyler Reddick going at it. You had Eric Almirola trying to keep his way in there. You had William Byron hoping he made his way in there. Man, I mean, you just had so many guys trying to get in. You know, the one thing I will say, you know, Kurt Busch didn't unload very good. They never really got a handle on that race car, so I really felt bad for him, possibly at one of the better tracks that he has, you know, throughout his career. So I felt bad for him on that, but he's going to be first one out. Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, Eric Almirola just did not quite make it into that round of 12, man. Very tight race, very good, but I tell you what, as I said earlier, that is pretty much what NASCAR's playoff does, is it builds that drama and that anticipation, man. It keeps these guys pretty much really close to each other to where at least at these cutoff races, you really got guys battling for, if not the last spot, if not multiple spots out of those last, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 that they're cutting, whatever. You at least got one set of guys, maybe 2, 3 guys racing for that final spot, and I think that's awesome. As you go on through those playoffs, the competition only gets tougher and tougher as you move on. So it's unlike anything else that's done in sports. I think it's awesome. I think when they got it put together, it's perfect where it's at, man. Other than, like I said, the schedule shakeup, I'd like to see a little bit of, but other than that, they got it going on right now. So, you know, Kurt Busch really had some trouble there. Like I said, kind of got himself behind the 8 ball there at Richmond. Really not a good run there. I ended up blowing tire, hit the wall early, put himself behind the 8 ball kind of going into, you know, that cutoff race at Bristol. So there again, you know, it's very difficult to come from behind when you go somewhere as a Bristol or as this Roval road course we're getting ready to race at Charlotte at this cutoff line. It just gets more and more difficult when you're put on the spot. Not only do you have, you know, the anticipation of a must-win situation or having to really race good, if for some reason you have an off weekend on that weekend, it costs your whole season or at least your championship run, which is why you run, you know, to win a championship. So just something, you know, he's got a rebound. I hated it for him, you know, last year there at Ganassi, kind of carried that for him over the last few years, especially, you know, I think with Kyle Larson coming in, Kurt Busch was still able to go out and make some playoffs, win some races as well. So, you know, there again, NASCAR champion, moving on, doing other things at other places. So, you know, I hate that he went out like that from Ganassi, didn't, you know, at least make a run at the championship. But, hey, man, I got a feeling there's going to be some more runs coming up in that guy's future. Dude, Tyler Reddick absolutely drove his ass off there towards the end of the race, man. I tell you, had some trouble there again, as many playoff drivers did towards the end, and it cost him a little bit. And I tell you, that little bit, I think, cost him the position. You know, it helped project somebody else into that last playoff spot or into a position not to be on the bubble, and kind of cost him. But I tell you what, he showed a lot of good character this year, a lot of good runs right there at RCR. You could argue maybe not the most consistent out of the two, but definitely had more speed at certain racetracks than in Austin Dillon did. So I think RCR is a little bit closer to getting that program back together. I think they're kind of on the upward slide right now, especially with the motor support I think they get from Rick Hendrick there. got to be on the lookout, man. I think Tyler Reddick's going to be something to deal with, definitely, when he gets this lined out, and get some more confidence built up in him, man. I'm telling you, he's only getting better every year, so keep an eye out there for him. 10-car Aric Almirola, what more can I say about the guy? Had the Cinderella win there at New Hampshire, man. As somebody that, didn't have a good season going, was outside 27th in points, and goes out and wins New Hampshire to put himself into the playoffs. Then to come all the way down and really having a really good race, a really competitive race car, bust an oil line, come down pit road, fix that, kind of recovered from that somewhat the best he could. Didn't have a good enough finish there again to make the round of 12. So we'll have to see what's in store for Aric Almirola in his future. If he's going to stay at Stewart-Haas for years to come, or if it's going to be maybe a one-year deal and then feel his options, or what it's going to be. But super nice guy. I think that there again, he's got some consistency issues inside the car. He's got to become more competitive week in and week out. Like I say, older NASCAR, you had maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 guys competing every week. Now you've got 15 to 17, 18 guys. We saw it this season, with how many different winners we had that can go out and win races. So the competition, it used to be a top 10 thing. Now it's really like a top 20 thing, because any of those guys can really go out and win for the most part. So there again, just something they got to get together and see what he can get done. But I tell you what, man, the 11 car of Denny Hamlin had it on fire there for a long time, part of that race as well, led a lot of laps, got caught up late, and kind of a very similar incident racing for the lead with Larson. That kind of happened between Elliott and Harvick. It's Bristol and stuff happens. You definitely wash up off that bottom a little bit, and things do happen to you. And it ended up costing him his night inside 100 laps to go, and this happens to him. And, great rebound for him to drive back. He finished 11th, great rebound, but there again, just bad timing, especially as dominant of a car as he had and how competitive he was. Would have he won it? Don't really know, but at the end of the day, good car, had some trouble, got taken out, man. Hendrick cars altogether, up and down nights for the whole crew, man. I mean, we watched, William Byron coming in, racing, falling back, coming up, finishing third, great run. We had the 48 car not really unloading good, taking a very long time throughout the night to finally get up there and get competitive and get a good finish. And then what more can we say about Chase Elliott, man? Up there, leading the race at times, there again, speeding on pit road. Tail, longest, tail into the field, not, tail into the lead lap, tail into the field, starting behind all the lap cars, drives all the way back up through there, leading the race inside. When we get the drama, man. So, the drama is just something that, like I said, I get it, and it's not really too upsetting. I'm not really too upset with anybody in the situation, man. I tell you what really irritated me was this guy there once again. I know I'm kind of on his case. I've been on it, man, but he keeps, to me, doing some stuff that's just kind of uncalled for in a way, and it really wasn't spoken about at all. Gets the flat tire right there coming down to the end, with inside 50 laps or 60 or whatever it was, comes in pits, comes out, right there beside Larson, second or third place at the time, goes by him, gets up, passes Harvick, whoever it may be, gets beside Elliott, washes up, in front of him. Elliott checks up, kind of causes him to back up into Harvick a little bit, and Harvick get that run. Clearly drove it in there for all it's worth. I'm not taking anything away from Harvick. Hadn't won all season. Very hungry for a win. But there again, when you do that and things like that happen and you end up taking a leader out and pop the tire, it's a racing incident, but you caused that, you're going to be raced in a similar way. So there again, if you watched it, Elliott comes down, fixes his tires, comes out in front of Harvick, pretty much side swipes him, takes a swipe at him, gets in front of him, stalls all momentum for Larson to kind of catch up there, get to him. Larson was kind of catching him on his own a little bit. We'd have to see how that played out. But at the end of the day, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. My guy got taken out, and he's going to make the guy that did it pay for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? So at the end of the day, Larson gets up there. Now here's the thing that kind of irritates me is we're all caught up in this in the Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick drama, right? But what's up with, Larson pulling the slide job on Harvick and him pushing him down the backstretch or front stretch there, getting him sideways twice getting him sideways. Had it been anybody else other than Kyle Larson, they probably would have lost that race car. The man held on to it, go out and get that win. I don't fault Kevin Harvick for running hard. I don't fault for Chase Elliott for coming back and kind of doing some retaliation. Now, so that's what we had on the racetrack, right? We get off the racetrack. These guys are basically going to get into it on pit road. My man Chase Elliott gets out the helmet on, ready to roll. Like, all right, what's up? We got problems, we're going to get this figured out, but helmet off. Here comes Kevin Harvick, got the helmet on, keeps the helmet on. Hey, smart move, I guess, if you plan on really fighting, right? Smart move. Anyways, all this goes down. You kind of see, Chase Elliott flip the bottom of Kevin Harvick's helmet a little bit, which I love, which in my mind pretty much told me, like, yeah, that's why you got your helmet on. Kind of gets broken up. Harvick walks out, cameras on him, takes his helmet off, beats his car up with the helmet. The helmet don't fight back, so he's slamming it around. And then kind of calls the move that Chase Elliott pulled on him chicken shit. But, yet here he is, the one that's got the helmet on, getting out of the car, when the young buck's trying to be like, what's up, man? Like, why do we got problems? So, as you heard Elliott said, did it to him a few weeks earlier at Darlington, got into him, didn't appreciate it, didn't like it. If you're going to race guys like that, as I said, you're going to get raced the same way. Eye for an eye, man. You drove it in, you bombed him, you caused the flat tire, he came out, he stalled you up, you didn't win the race. Eye for an eye. These guys went to the holler. Hopefully they got this figured out, man. If not, I can guarantee you might see these guys end up tangling at some point again if they did not get it lined up, man. And, hey, here we go now. Moving on to Las Vegas. Kyle Larson wins Busch Pole Award. As if it's going to be any surprise, he won that race there in the spring. Man, I'm telling you right now, you might as well go ahead and chalk it up. Getting that clean air, getting that track position, you might as well probably chalk it up. He's going to go out and get it again, barring anything that happens. Very dominant on 1.5 miles this year. If not winning them, running very, very strong, leading a lot of laps. So, hey, Penske's known, run very good there as well. We'll have to see maybe if they can insert their name into guys competing for this championship, because in my eyes right now, it's JGR and it's Hendrick. So we'll see if Penske can come together, put their name in the hat as well, and maybe get a driver set into this 8. I know there's one that a lot of people I think are going to sleep on between the other two, that we're coming up to a couple of his really good racetracks, so we'll just have to see what he does, man. But, there again, 1.5 mile track, 400-mile race, man, 267 laps, starting 7 p.m. Eastern time out there in Vegas. That'd be like, what, right around 4 o'clock. Love this race too. Very different shape, 1.5 miles, very fast. Man, love this place. So stage 1, 80 laps. Stage 2 coming into a end at lap 160. Final stage, 267 laps. We'll wave the flag on the first race of the round of 12 and see who locked themselves into that playoff. Or if, nobody did, and maybe one of these guys that are outside of the playoffs come out and get the win and steal the show. So we'll just have to see. But my top 5 for the race right here, as I said earlier, Kyle Larson absolutely on fire, dominating it, won it in the spring, starting from the pole. Got to take the 5 car. 2 for me, we'll go the 11 of Denny Hamlin. There again, having really strong runs. I think maybe if he can get some things lined out, he'll have a really good run there at Vegas as well. 3 for me, we'll go ahead and take the 9 of Chase Elliott. I think getting that momentum built, coming very close to winning quite a few races this year, just not having things go his way. Larson had a good setup there. We'll see maybe if he follows suit this time and goes out and gets his win there in the desert. But, man, taking Elliott as well in that 3rd place. 4 for me is going to be Ryan Blaney. Man, like I said, one of his better racetracks, not this past year maybe, had it wrapped up. Late caution, decided to come in. People stay out. Logano stayed out. That was a 19 season. Stays out, man, kind of cost him. So look out for Ryan Blaney. I feel like to have a good run there. Time for him to show and insert himself, I think, into this playoff run. And last but not least, 5 for me, another guy, Joey Logano, man. I think that guy there is definitely this round here fits better than the round before. I think that he's very meticulous about the way he plans for these races and necessarily looking at things and what's going to win and how we're going to get these stage points to be ahead and stay ahead. So put him in the 5 spot, looking for a good run. Dark horses, not going to say it's too much of a dark horse going William Byron, but I think this guy's got the momentum in his corner. There again, coming up somewhere in Vegas, I think can go ahead and have a really good run. Another dark horse for me, a guy that got a top 10 finish sitting there earlier in the spring. A lot of guys are going to sleep on, and that's Erik Jones, man. Brought it home, top 10, I think 8th right there at Bristol at that cutoff race. Coming up to Vegas, got a top 10 there earlier in the season, man. Possibly could do it again. So, as I said, we're just going to have to wait and see Kyle Larson does the season sweep there at Vegas or not, man, because right now, like I said, the man's on fire. So, that's going to do it for the rubbing part. Moving right on into the grubbing, man. Got one of my favorite little snacks right here coming out of Coach's Corner. I tell you what, this is just something, quick little snack. It is the season we're getting into, man. We got those loaded pig skins. I tell you what, bacon, got the sour cream, the cheese. Doesn't get much better than this, man. You load these up with some chili or even more queso. I'm telling you right now, this is a hidden gem. I will teach you some things about the Coach's menu. I eat here quite often. There's a lot of stuff to do that you can load up quite a few items in here, man. So like I say, Pigskins, absolutely love them, man. As I always say, big shout out to everybody out there. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thanks to John and Adele Henderson, pretty much all the Coach's family, man, for everything they do for Rubbin' and Grubbin' and our local community, man. Make sure you guys turn out as well. Come by Coach's, support your local business, man. Till next week, tune back in, Rubbin' and Grubbin', 6 o'clock Wednesdays, right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network, the center of the universe, Coach's Corner, Thunderbolt, Georgia, man. Love y'all. Thank y'all. Till next week.